Most people think negotiation is about talking more. It's not. The best negotiators usually control emotions, timing, silence, and perception before they ever control the deal. Number 7, strategic silence. One of the most underrated negotiation tactics is saying nothing. And surprisingly, silence makes people uncomfortable fast. Here's what usually happens in a negotiation. Someone gives a price, makes an offer, or says something difficult. And the other person instantly starts talking. They justify themselves. They explain too much. They panic-fill the silence. That's the mistake, because silence creates pressure. And pressure makes people reveal information. Experienced negotiators know this. After making an offer, they stay calm and quiet. No nervous smiling, no over-explaining. They let the other person sit with the moment. And in many cases, the other side starts negotiating against themselves. You see this everywhere. Car dealerships, salary talks, freelance work, even simple marketplace deals. A client says, "That's too expensive." Most people instantly lower the price, but strong negotiators pause first. Sometimes the client continues with, "But honestly, your work does look better than the others." That extra sentence only appears because silence created space. And psychologically, silence signals confidence. It tells the other person, "I'm comfortable with my position." That's powerful. But here's the deeper truth most people miss. Silence only works when you're emotionally controlled. If you look nervous, silence becomes awkward. If you stay calm, silence becomes leverage. And the next tactic becomes even more powerful once you understand how people emotionally react under pressure. Number 6, the walk-away illusion. The strongest negotiators rarely look desperate, even when they really want the deal, because desperation destroys leverage faster than almost anything else. The moment someone feels you need the outcome, your negotiating power drops immediately. That's why elite negotiators create the feeling that they can walk away at any moment. Not aggressively, not emotionally, calmly. And that changes everything. Think about it in real life. If a freelancer keeps saying, "Please let me know," "I really need this project," "I can start immediately," the client suddenly feels in control. But if the freelancer calmly says, "I'd love to work together, but I only take projects that fit properly," the entire energy shifts. Now the client starts fearing loss, and humans hate losing opportunities more than they enjoy gaining them. That's psychology. Luxury brands use this constantly. High-level salespeople use it. Even experienced job candidates use it during interviews. The hidden secret is this. People value what seems selective. But there's an important balance here. If you overdo this tactic, you look arrogant. If you underdo it, you look needy. The real skill is controlled detachment. You're interested, but not dependent. And once you understand that, you can move into a tactic that quietly controls the direction of almost every negotiation without people realizing it. Number 5, anchoring the room. The first serious number mentioned in a negotiation often controls everything that comes after it. Even if the number is unreasonable, this is called anchoring. And it affects people far more than they realize. Imagine someone wants to sell you something for $5,000. Even if you negotiate down to $3,500, your brain still feels like you won because your mind got anchored to the original price. That first number became the reference point. Smart negotiators understand this deeply. That's why experienced freelancers often avoid asking clients, "What's your budget?" Instead, they establish value first, then place a strong anchor. Because whoever frames the value early usually controls the conversation later. Real estate agents do this constantly. Businesses do it with original prices. Even YouTubers and influencers use anchoring when they compare expensive options before showing the actual product. And here's the scary part. Anchoring works even when people know it's happening. That's how powerful human psychology is. But elite negotiators take this further. They don't just anchor with money. They anchor with expectations. Things like, "This usually takes weeks." Most clients spend much more than this. People normally struggle to get this level of access. Now, the other person starts mentally adjusting around your frame. and once you learn how to control the frame, the next tactics become much more dangerous. Number 4, controlled empathy. Most people think negotiation is a battle. The best negotiators know it's actually emotional observation. Because people rarely make decisions using pure logic. They use emotion first, then justify it with logic afterward. And this is where controlled empathy becomes incredibly powerful. Notice the word controlled. This is not about being soft. It's about understanding what the other person fears, wants, or feels pressured by, without losing your own position. A skilled negotiator listens for emotional signals. A client saying, "We've had bad experiences before." That sentence isn't just information, it's fear. A manager saying, "We need this done quickly." That might actually mean pressure from above. A customer repeatedly asking about guarantees? That often means trust issues, not price issues. Strong negotiators catch these hidden emotions and speak directly to them, and suddenly resistance drops. Because people trust those who make them feel understood. This is why some people can charge more money and still close deals easier than cheaper competitors. They reduce emotional uncertainty. But here's the deeper insight. Controlled empathy also prevents emotional manipulation. Because once you understand what someone is trying to emotionally trigger in you, guilt, urgency, fear, pressure, you stop reacting automatically. Now you're negotiating consciously instead of emotionally. And once emotions are under control, timing becomes the next weapon. Number 3, the power of delayed decisions. Fast decisions feel productive, but in negotiations, speed often benefits the more prepared person. That's why experienced negotiators rarely rush important decisions in real time. They pause, they review, they slow the emotional momentum down, because urgency changes human behavior. When people feel rushed, they stop analyzing properly. They overlook red flags. They agree to terms they later regret. This happens everywhere. Limited time offers, last chance discounts, pressure during interviews, even social pressure in group settings. And sometimes the urgency is completely artificial. Elite negotiators know this, so they deliberately create distance before final decisions. Not because they're indecisive, because time weakens emotional pressure. A simple sentence like, "Let me think about it tonight," can completely change the outcome of a negotiation. Suddenly, your brain exits survival mode. And here's something fascinating. The person pushing urgency is often the one with more to lose. That's why slowing things down can reveal hidden desperation, weak terms, or bluffing. But there's another layer most people never notice. When you pause strategically, the other side often starts improving the offer on their own. Why? Because uncertainty creates anxiety. And anxiety makes people chase certainty, which leads directly into one of the most powerful psychological tactics ever used in negotiation. Number 2, making them invest. People protect what they invest in, not just money, time, energy, effort, emotion. And great negotiators understand this perfectly. The more someone psychologically invests in the conversation, the harder it becomes for them to walk away. That's why skilled negotiators ask strategic questions instead of immediately pitching. Questions create participation. Participation creates investment, and investment creates attachment. For example, instead of instantly selling a service, a strong negotiator might ask, "What's been the biggest frustration with your current setup?" Now the other person starts emotionally entering the problem. Then another question, "What would solving that problem actually change for your business?" Now they're mentally imagining a better future. At this point, they're no longer just hearing a pitch. They're building emotional ownership of the solution themselves. And humans trust conclusions they reach on their own more than conclusions forced onto them. That's the secret. Top salespeople, lawyers, interviewers, and even interrogators use this principle constantly. Because once someone emotionally participates in the process, walking away feels psychologically harder, but there's still one tactic above all of these. And it's the one most people completely fail to recognize when it's being used on them. Number 1, controlling the frame. The most powerful negotiators don't control the conversation. They control the meaning of the conversation. That's the real game. Because in almost every negotiation, there's an invisible battle happening underneath the words, who defines reality? Think about it. One person frames a product as expensive, another frames it as high value. One employer frames a salary as already generous. The candidate frames it as below market for this level of responsibility. Same situation, different frame. And the frame people emotionally accept usually becomes the outcome. This is why elite negotiators rarely argue directly. Instead, they quietly reframe the situation. If someone says, your price is too high, an average negotiator defends the price. A strong negotiator reframes, it depends on whether you want the cheapest option or the option that avoids problems later. Now, the conversation is no longer about price. It's about risk. That's frame control. Politicians use it. Luxury brands use it. Top lawyers use it. Even experienced content creators use it online every day. Because humans don't make decisions based purely on facts. They make decisions based on interpretation. And the person controlling interpretation often controls the decision. But here's the dangerous part. Most people don't even realize when someone else is framing them. A client says, this should be a quick project. Now you're unconsciously defending why it takes longer. A company says, we're like a family here. Now lower pay suddenly sounds emotionally acceptable. A salesperson says, most people choose the premium option. Now your brain starts fearing the cheap choice. That's frame control happening in real time. And once you notice it, you start seeing negotiations differently everywhere. Not just in business, in relationships, in interviews, in everyday conversations. Because the strongest negotiators are rarely the loudest people in the room. They're usually the people quietly controlling how the room thinks.